channel. Welcome back to the Asian Persuasion channel. It's a new day. It's a new therapy day. I hope everybody's having a great day. I wanted to stop in, give you a little pep talk for the day. Give you a little pep talk for the day. Hope everybody's doing well. All right. Today's therapy. All right. Pain and peace. Living in pain, but also living in peace. It's a hard thing to do. I do it every day, or at least I try to. You know, um, mental health is a very important thing. We all know that it's a very difficult thing to talk about. People don't like to talk about mental health because it makes them feel, uncomfortable. Um, and coming from somebody who goes through a lot of mental health things and a lot of things that have impacted my life and changed my life and things like that, it's hard to cope with, but if you find something that's, good for your mind, like video games that doesn't stress you out, or smoking weed as long as it doesn't, is not like the type of strain that's gonna make you freak out. I've had some people that smoke some strains that didn't make them really feel good, and I always say don't smoke it if it doesn't make you feel good, because that's just kind of pointless. Why are you smoking it? What's good, boys? What's good, boys? Yeah, the leather jacket. The leather jacket. I had to bring out the leather jacket. Smoking weed can definitely be useful for mental health for some people. Yeah, for some people. And I have always said, smoking weed for mental health. Smoking weed is not for everybody. And if you're smoking weed and it's not doing anything good for you, stop smoking it. Stop smoking it, guys. But I just wanted to drop in, say hello. Some people shouldn't smoke, period. Yeah, that's true. Some people shouldn't smoke, period. Don't smoke nicotine, guys. Don't smoke nicotine. But yeah, what you consume affects you in many, many ways, guys. What you consume affects you. If you consume negative media, it'll affect you. If you consume negative stuff on YouTube, it affects you. So try to stay, positive. Try to stay grounded in things. Don't do anything rash. If you're feeling like you're gonna do something rash, come talk to me. We can have a one-on-one. We can have a smoke sesh. You know, we can do all the things. We can talk about it. We can find a middle ground, stuff like that. Mental health is a tricky thing. It hides behind things. People hide mental health very well. People hide, being depressed very well. You can talk to somebody and never think they're depressed, but they are. Is weed good for your mental health? Well, for me, it keeps me out of my head. It keeps me out of my brain because my brain is very all over the place. And I start thinking about things. When I start thinking about things Excel, it gets a little out of hand. And I've gone through depressional states, like anxiety, depression, all that, to where I slept for a long time. I slept for days, weeks, you know? And it's weed keeps me functional, especially for a lot of things that I go through, with chronic pain, chronic fatigue, all those things. Weed gives me that little boost that keeps me, keeps my mind off the pain, keeps my mind off just life itself. It just kind of eases things up. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's good for your mental health. I am saying it helps. It definitely helps. Reasons why medical cannabis is a thing. Yes, that's why medical cannabis is a thing. That's a good point, Notorious. If medical cannabis wasn't a thing, I wouldn't say it was good for your mental health, but it is. A lot of people smoke medical cannabis for medical reasons. Cancer patients, people with there's a whole slew of diseases and illnesses that people smoke weed for. You know, but what do I know? I'm just an Asian. You know, what do I know? What do I know? I don't know. I've been in some dark places. You know, I've been in some very dark places, and you know, when I lived alone, weed was the only thing that kept me out of those places. You know, especially at night. You know. Hello, Gato. Hello, brother. How are you? Most medicines, I was multitasking. My bad for the typo. It's all good, Notorious. It's all good. But, you know, mental health, like, a lot of people don't want to talk about mental health because it makes them feel, you know, especially men, it makes you feel uncomfortable, you know? And me, over the years, since I started going to therapy, the more I talk about mental health, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people need to know, you know, you gotta take care of your mind, guys. You gotta take care of it, you know. And I know people will say, "Oh, therapy doesn't work," but you really gotta put in the work. You really gotta, dig deep. Look at yourself. You know, put yourself in a perspective of judgment, sort of, sort of. You know, that's really what therapy is: putting yourself in a judgment type of state. Putting yourself in feelings that you don't want to feel, put yourself in a position of, reminiscing on things that are in the past that, you may not be so proud of, or things that may have bothered you, or, if you went through suicidal tendencies, what were the feelings that were brought up during those suicidal tendencies? Those are things that are talked about in therapy, you know? Like, most people think therapy is just you sit down in front of a person, you pay them, and you talk about it. That's it. But really, if you really want therapy to work for you, you gotta put in the work, guys. You gotta put in the work. You can't just sit there and shoot the shit and then just leave and not apply anything that you learned. You know, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Trust me. If you don't apply it, nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change for you guys. No matter how much weed you smoke, no matter what type of drugs you do, it's not gonna change. You have to change those things on your own. You know? If I tried to go to therapy, but I didn't put in the work, I didn't work on it in my own personal life. I didn't do the things that my therapist told me to do. It's not gonna change. My life's not gonna change, guys. Therapy isn't gonna change anything. Yeah, I'm gonna keep making the same mistakes, doing the same things over and over and over again. Until I change my mindset. Until you change your mindset, you ain't gonna change. You gotta learn to keep yourself accountable. Keep your mind accountable too. That's important. Keeping your mind in check is a very difficult thing, y'all. It's a very difficult thing. Sometimes your mind kind of overpowers you, and you don't really have a choice. I think NF talked about that in his recent EP, the song "Fear." You know, it's like it pulls you in so many different directions. He actually does talk about it. Rumen, how are you? How are you? Afraz? I don't know how to say your name, brother. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I'm so sorry. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the Asian therapy sesh. But yeah. And back to the comment about how is weed good for your mental health? It's not. It's a good coping mechanism. It's a coping thing. It's an outlet. It's just like any other type of drug. It's like when you have, a headache, you take ibuprofen. You know, it's just like that. When you're feeling a little down, you need a little boost. Weed gives you that little boost, gives you that little mental, like, oh, I feel good. I feel relaxed. That's really what that is about. That's how it helps. Still waiting for my meat delivery. It's supposed to arrive in 3 hours. Nice, nice. I like it. I like it. But yeah, guys, That's all I really wanted to say. I hope everybody has a great day. And I'll leave you off with this. If you struggle with any type of mental health things like anxiety, depression, especially depression, if you know, if you need to talk about things, you come talk to the Asian, all right? You come talk to the Asian. We'll have a personal one-on-one smoke sesh. We'll talk about things. We'll get things off your chest because that's what therapy is about. We'll look out for each other. We gotta look out for each other, guys. We gotta make sure everybody's good. If you ask somebody how they are, you make sure they answer you honestly. Don't let them get away with a BS answer of, oh, I'm okay, oh, I'm good. Don't let them do that. Let them give you the honest answer. Be honest when somebody asks you how you are. You know, I can't speak right now. I'm a little high, bro. I ain't even trying to say that. But I love you guys. I love you guys. Take care. Work on your mental health. Keep yourself, healthy. Go to the gym. Do all the things you need to do. Eat your fruits and vegetables. You know, Apply what you learn in therapy if you do go to therapy in your real life, and see how that goes. If you don't apply it, you never know how it's gonna go. And it's not gonna change if you don't at least try. But have a good one, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like this little therapy sesh with me, and I'll see you on the next one. All right. Have a good one. Stay safe. Stay high. Stay real. And yeah, it's been a nice therapy day, guys. It's been a nice therapy day. I'll see you in the street.